Have you ever noticed how some people just seem to glow with happiness as they get older, while others carry a visible weight on their shoulders? It's a curious thing, isn't it? As we navigate life beyond 65, we often find ourselves at a unique crossroads. We have a wealth of experience, stories to tell, and a different perspective on what truly matters. Yet, for many, this stage of life can also bring a nagging sense of what if, or a heavy burden of what might have been. It's almost as if some unseen baggage we've accumulated over the decades keeps us from truly enjoying the freedom and wisdom that come with age. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's simply a recognition of a shared human experience. We often cling to things, thoughts, and even feelings that, unbeknownst to us, are silently chipping away at our joy and even our health. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with rocks, day in and day out. Eventually, that weight would start to affect your posture, your energy, and your overall well-being. Well, sometimes, our minds and hearts carry similar invisible burdens. But what if I told you there's a secret to shedding that weight? To unlocking a lighter, more vibrant you in your golden years? In this video, we're going to uncover 4 powerful things you should gently release after 65. These aren't grand, complicated tasks, but simple shifts in perspective that can profoundly impact your happiness and longevity. Stick with me until the very end, because I promise there's a surprising insight waiting for you that could truly change your outlook. Let's begin with the first significant weight we can lovingly let go of: the burden of past regrets and old grudges. It's a heavy one, isn't it? Think about it. Throughout our lives, we've all made choices we might look back on differently, had experiences that hurt us, or encountered people who let us down. And for years, sometimes decades, we carry those moments, replaying them in our minds like an old movie reel. We might dwell on a missed opportunity, a harsh word spoken, or a perceived injustice. Perhaps it's a family misunderstanding that festered, or a professional setback that still stings. This isn't just about feeling a little sad. Holding on to regret and grudges actually has a physical toll. When you're constantly replaying negative events, your body doesn't know the difference between a past memory and a present threat. It ramps up stress hormones like cortisol, which, over time, can contribute to inflammation, high blood pressure, and even suppress your immune system. It's like keeping a simmering pot of resentment on the stove of your mind, constantly draining your energy and peace. Consider Martha, a lovely woman in her late 70s I once spoke with. For years, she carried a deep resentment towards her sister, Sarah, over a minor inheritance dispute that happened decades ago. Every family gathering was tinged with awkwardness. Every phone call was strained. Martha would often complain about the injustice, reliving the arguments. She developed chronic headaches and often felt a tightness in her chest. One day, after a particularly draining interaction, she realized she was spending more time thinking about what Sarah did than enjoying her own grandchildren. It was exhausting, she decided, with trepidation, to reach out, not to hash it out again, but simply to say, "Life's too short. Sarah, I want us to be sisters again." The response wasn't immediate, but that one act of letting go, of extending an olive branch, started a healing process. Martha found that the anger she had clung to was replaced by a surprising lightness. Her headaches lessened, and she felt a newfound freedom. She realized she wasn't forgiving Sarah for Sarah's sake, but for her own peace of mind, for her own health. So, how do we actively let go of these deeply ingrained patterns? It starts with acknowledging them. Take a quiet moment and identify any lingering regrets or grudges you might be holding. Don't judge them. Just notice them. Then, try a simple exercise. Write it down. Get it out of your head and onto paper. For regrets, write down what happened. Acknowledge how you felt. And then, Crucially, write down what you learned from it. Every experience, even a difficult one, holds a lesson. Forgiveness, whether of yourself or others, isn't about condoning what happened. It's about releasing yourself from its grip. It's understanding that dwelling on the past cannot change it, but it can certainly ruin your present. Some people find it helpful to imagine literally releasing these burdens, perhaps by writing them on a leaf and letting it float down a stream, or riding them on a balloon and watching it disappear into the sky. It's a symbolic act, yes, but its power lies in the intention behind it. You are actively choosing to free yourself. Remember, the past is a story you tell yourself. You have the power to change the narrative from one of burden to one of wisdom. And when you let go of those old stories, you create space for new, more joyful chapters to unfold. This brings us beautifully to the next thing we can release to truly embrace a fuller, happier life in our later years. The second important thing to gently release after 65, which can bring immense relief and renewed energy, is the persistent need for constant approval and the exhausting habit of people-pleasing. Think about how much of our lives, especially in our younger years, are spent trying to fit in, to be liked, to meet the expectations of others, our parents, our spouses, our bosses, our friends. We learn to say yes when we want to say no, to compromise our own needs, and to prioritize others' comfort over our own well-being. It's a pattern that can become deeply ingrained, almost second nature. But as we get older, this habit can become increasingly draining. We've earned the right to live authentically, to speak our minds kindly, and to honor our own desires. Yet, many of us still feel that familiar tug, that obligation to keep everyone happy, even at our own expense. Imagine Sarah, a wonderful woman in her early 70s. For decades, Sarah was the go-to person for everything. Need a volunteer for the church bake sale? Call Sarah. Someone needs a ride to an appointment? Sarah will do it. Her children expected her to babysit grandchildren every weekend. Even if she had plans, she rarely said no, fearing she'd disappoint someone or be seen as unhelpful. As a result, she was constantly rushing, felt perpetually tired, and often had to cancel her own cherished hobbies, like her weekly painting class or quiet walks in the park. She started feeling resentful, but couldn't bring herself to express it. This constant external focus meant her inner voice was often silenced, and she felt a profound disconnect from her own desires and needs. The stress of managing everyone else's expectations led to restless nights and a general sense of being overwhelmed. Rather than enjoying the peaceful retirement she had envisioned, one day, after canceling her painting class for the third time in a month to help out a distant relative, she hit a wall. She felt utterly depleted. She realized that her kindness had, in fact, become a burden, not just to her, but also to her relationships. By always saying yes, she wasn't teaching others to respect her boundaries, and she was denying herself the joy of living her own life. So, she started small. The next time a request came that didn't align with her schedule or energy, she paused. Instead of an automatic yes, she practiced saying, "Let me check my calendar and get back to you." Or, "I appreciate you asking, but I won't be able to this time." It felt incredibly awkward at first, even selfish. But what she found was surprising. Most people understood. Some were even supportive. Her children, seeing her newfound assertiveness, started to offer to help her more. She finally got back to her painting, and the joy she felt from that creative outlet was palpable. Her sleep improved, and her general mood lifted. Letting go of the need for constant approval isn't about becoming selfish or uncaring. It's about self-respect and setting healthy boundaries. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't determined by how much you do for others, but by who you are. To practice this, start by tuning into your own body and emotions. When a request comes your way, notice how it feels. Does it make you feel excited and willing? Or does it bring a sense of dread or obligation? Give yourself permission to pause before responding. A simple phrase like, "I need to think about that," or "Let me get back to you," can be incredibly empowering. Remember, no is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a lengthy explanation for why you're declining something that doesn't serve you. It takes practice, especially if you've been a people pleaser for a lifetime. But each time you honor your own needs, you build a stronger sense of self, and you create space for the activities and relationships that truly nourish your soul. This shift not only improves your mental and emotional well-being, but also frees up tremendous energy, allowing you to live with more vitality and joy. This newfound freedom directly connects to our next vital point, letting go of the fear of change and the unknown. That brings us to the third powerful thing we can release to truly thrive in our later years, letting go of the fear of change and the unknown. It's a natural human tendency to cling to what's familiar, what's comfortable. Especially as we age, we've built a life, established routines, and found security in predictability. The idea of stepping outside that well-worn path can feel daunting, even terrifying. Change often brings with it a sense of losing control, of facing uncertainty, and perhaps even of failure. We might tell ourselves, "I'm too old to learn something new," or "It's just too much hassle to change things now." This fear can manifest in many ways, resisting new technology, sticking to old habits even when they no longer serve us, or shying away from new social circles or experiences. While stability is comforting, an excessive fear of change can lead to stagnation, limiting our opportunities for growth, joy, and new adventures. It can make life feel smaller and less vibrant. Consider John, a retired accountant in his late 60s. John had always been meticulous and precise, living a highly structured life. After retirement, he found himself spending most days at home, following the same routine he'd had for years. His children tried to encourage him to try new things, perhaps join a local walking group, learn a new language online, or even travel to a place he'd always dreamed of. But John would always respond with apprehension. "What if I can't keep up with the group? I'm not good with computers. It's too complicated. Traveling is too much planning. And what if something goes wrong?" He truly believed his best years for adventure were behind him. He found himself feeling increasingly isolated and a bit restless. Even though he was safe in his familiar bubble, his fear of the unknown kept him from experiences that could have enriched his life and stimulated his mind. One day, his granddaughter, a bright young woman, gently persuaded him to try a simple online course, not a complex language, but a beginner's course on digital photography, something he'd always had a passing interest in but never pursued. John was terrified. He fumbled with the mouse, felt silly asking basic questions, but his granddaughter was patient. Slowly, painstakingly, he began to learn. He started taking pictures of his garden, then the local park, then venturing further afield. The initial fear began to dissipate, replaced by a surprising sense of accomplishment and curiosity. He discovered a whole new world through the lens, and even started sharing his photos online, connecting with other photography enthusiasts. This small step opened the door to others. He found a local photography club, where he met new people, sharing stories and tips. He realized that the unknown wasn't always a dark, scary place. It could be filled with discovery and connection. His mind felt sharper, his days more fulfilling, and he often remarked how much more alive he felt. So, how do we begin to let go of this fear of change? It starts with cultivating a mindset of curiosity and openness, rather than one of trepidation. Recognize that change is an inevitable part of life, and embracing it can lead to incredible personal growth. Start small. Identify one tiny thing you've been hesitant to try. Maybe it's signing up for that beginner's exercise class, trying a new recipe, learning a few words of a different language, or simply taking a different route on your daily walk. It's about taking micro steps outside your comfort zone, celebrating each small victory. Remind yourself that discomfort is often a sign of growth. It doesn't mean something is wrong. It means you're expanding. Engage your brain with new information, hobbies, or skills. Research shows that continuously learning new things helps keep our minds agile and resilient. Talk to people who embrace new experiences. Their enthusiasm can be infectious. Remember, life doesn't stop evolving when you turn 65. In many ways, it's an invitation to explore new facets of yourself and the world around you. By letting go of the grip of fear, you open yourself up to a wealth of possibilities, enriching your life in ways you might never have imagined. And this liberation from fear directly paves the way for the final, incredibly freeing step in our journey, letting go of unnecessary clutter, both physical and mental. Now, for our fourth and final powerful thing to let go of after 65, one that might surprise you with its profound impact on your happiness and longevity, the burden of unnecessary clutter, both physical and mental. We accumulate so much throughout our lives. Don't we? Houses full of possessions, attics overflowing, garages packed to the brim. Every item often holds a memory, a story, a just-in-case possibility. And while some possessions bring joy and comfort, an excess of them can become a heavy weight. Think about the time and energy spent organizing, cleaning, repairing, or simply moving things around. This physical clutter can create a sense of overwhelm, stress, and even restrict movement, impacting physical safety. But beyond the visible stuff, there's an even more insidious form of clutter: mental clutter. This includes outdated beliefs, unexamined assumptions, constant worrying, excessive planning, and a mind that's always buzzing with noise. Just like physical clutter, mental clutter can drain your energy, reduce your focus, and prevent you from truly being present and enjoying the moment. Imagine Eleanor, a delightful woman in her early 80s. Her home, though lovely, was packed. Every surface had decorative items. Books were stacked high, and closets were bursting. She found herself spending hours each week just trying to put things away or find what she needed. She often felt exhausted and frustrated, saying, "I just can't keep up anymore." The physical effort of maintaining so many possessions left her with less energy for her passion, gardening, and for visiting her friends. On top of that, her mind was also full. She worried constantly about her children, replayed old conversations, and fretted over future doctor's appointments. Her days were a blur of doing and worrying, leaving little space for peaceful contemplation or simple enjoyment. She truly felt weighed down, physically and mentally. One afternoon, while trying to clear a path through her spare room, she tripped. Luckily, she wasn't seriously hurt, but it was a wake-up call. She realized her belongings were starting to control her, rather than serving her. Inspired by a friend who had recently downsized, Eleanor decided to embark on a decluttering journey. She started small, tackling one drawer, one shelf at a time. For each item, she asked herself, "Does this bring me joy? Do I truly need this? Have I used this in the last year?" It was emotional work at times, saying goodbye to items that held sentimental value. But as she let go, she noticed something incredible happening. Her home began to feel lighter, more spacious. She could find things easily. The effort of cleaning significantly reduced, freeing up hours in her week. More surprisingly, as her physical space became clearer, so too did her mind. The constant hum of, "I need to organize this," or "Where is that?" began to quiet. She felt a lightness she hadn't experienced in years. She had more energy for her garden, enjoyed her friends more deeply, and found herself more present in conversations. She even started journaling, a practice that helped her clear some of the mental chatter that had plagued her. So, how do we begin to let go of this clutter for physical items? Start small. Choose one area, a drawer, a shelf, or even just your bedside table. Take everything out. Then put back only what you truly love, use, or need. Consider the 1-year rule. If you haven't used it in a year, or if it doesn't bring you joy, it might be time to let it go. You can donate, gift, or responsibly dispose of items. The goal isn't minimalism, but mindful living. For mental clutter, it's about creating space in your mind. Practices like mindfulness or meditation, even for just 5 minutes a day, can be incredibly powerful. Simply sitting quietly and observing your thoughts without judgment can help you become aware of what's occupying your mental landscape. Journaling can also be a fantastic way to empty your mind of worries, plans, and old narratives. Write them down, acknowledge them, and then consciously release them. Limit your exposure to overwhelming news or negative social media feeds. Choose your inputs wisely. Remember, your mind is like your home. It needs to be cleared and tidied regularly to feel peaceful and functional. These 4 things we've talked about: letting go of past regrets and grudges, releasing the need for constant approval, embracing change over fear, and shedding unnecessary clutter, are not about subtracting from your life. They are about making space, clearing the path, and adding more joy, more freedom, and more vitality. Imagine the possibilities when you're no longer weighed down by the past, no longer constrained by others' expectations, no longer paralyzed by fear, and no longer overwhelmed by possessions or a busy mind. This isn't about becoming a different person. It's about becoming more fully yourself, the self you've been striving to be all along. Small, consistent steps in each of these areas can lead to profound transformations. Your journey beyond 65 is an incredible chapter, full of potential for peace, growth, and genuine happiness. You have earned the wisdom to discern what serves you and the courage to let go of what doesn't. If any of these ideas resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which of these resonates most with your own experience? Or perhaps you have something else you've successfully let go of that has brought you peace. Share your insights in the comments below. Your wisdom might just inspire someone else. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. We're building a wonderful community here, dedicated to living our best lives at every age. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, every day is a new opportunity to choose lightness, to choose joy, and to truly live your best life at every age.